basically slept in his Italia shirt because they are, of course, Forza Italia, winners of the Euro 2020 championship game last night. We will get into that at great length. We will be talking about list season and why I hate it. It's the bane of my existence. It's something that immediately hit me in the face. It feels like right after I got off the plane from Chicago yesterday, right after I came home from vacation, I just got smacked in the face with list after list after list. Top 10 offensive tackles, top 10 quarterbacks. And Ryan Tannehill's not on it. So that's what I got to spend my day doing. Great. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. 615-737-1045. We got a bunch of stuff on the docket. I missed so much. I feel I missed all of you, of course. I don't know how much you missed me, but I certainly missed you. I missed coming into work. I missed having a purpose. That's the thing that gets lost in vacation. And I think generally, as a principle, Americans work too much. Just people in general, no matter whether you're American, whether you're European, whatever you are. You probably work too much in your day-to-day. You probably don't take enough time to appreciate things. Now, the society is set up so that we have to do these things. But when I go on vacation, I make it like 2 days in before I'm like, what am I going to do today? What is my purpose? What do I have to offer the world if I'm not shouting in front of a microphone about Ryan Tannehill being snubbed from a top 10 list? What purpose do I serve? And it turns out nothing. So that's what I did on vacation. Absolutely nothing. No, it was lovely to get up to Chicago. It was great to be able to experience that city and all that it has to offer. And it was great to be able to come home yesterday and then immediately dive face first into all the things that I've missed in sports. I also missed Lucas. Hello, buddy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you back. I enjoyed our time with Braden and Will. We had fun. But good to have Buck Reising back on the Buck Reising Show, and it makes me so happy that you came back home and dove right in to Euro 2020. It was a beautiful day.
Did you change shirts? Like, have you showered? You're wearing the same exact shirt that you were wearing
I'm wearing
at the
the
bar
same
yesterday.
shirt as yesterday. But
That's
I have
disgusting.
showered. I did not sleep in this shirt, and this shirt was very clean when I put it on yesterday. So I am wearing shirts in back-to-back days. It's a special occasion for me, for my family. Very happy day. This will carry on throughout the week.
Put it on the poll. Can you wear the same shirt in back-to-back days? Yes or no? At Buck Reising, of course, is where we pump out the polls. It's been a while.
Well, what about special circumstances, like when your country wins a massive major tournament and the shirt you wore the day before was the shirt you were wearing when they won, and you want to continue the celebration the next day? Can I put that on the poll?
I mean, I don't have my basketball team in my lifetime. The team that I root for, my Indiana Hoosiers, have never won a championship in my lifetime. So I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate assessment on that. Instead, I suffer and I sulk in my sports fandom because the one team that I care about as a fan in my life stinks out loud. So no, I don't have a good answer to give you on that. But what I would say to you is, just as a general life principle, you should probably change your clothes. You're like one of these people. It's not quite the same because it's a little more sanitary than, one of these people who goes to, like, say, summer camp. Say when you're going to summer camp as a little kid and you don't pack enough underwear and you turn your underwear inside out because that's how you're going to get through camp because you're not doing laundry. You're laughing because you're probably one of these people, given that you're wearing the same shirt in back-to-back days.
No. I will say, whenever I pack, though, I always go by the rule: pack underwear as if you're going to soil yourself like 8 times during the trip.
As if you're going to soil yourself?
Yeah,
is that a situation that you've
No,
been
it never is. It never is. But I always pack like 4 or 5 extra underwear for whatever reason.
It is probably good on principle, but yeah, it's on the poll. Can you wear the same shirt in back-to-back days?
Special occasion.
Championship or not? 615-737-1045. So I don't want to spend the whole time talking about how much fun I had on vacation, because I had a hell of a lot of fun yesterday with everything that happened in sports. I started the day off with Wimbledon, with Djokovic. I thought the Italians would be able to get a clean sweep in sporting events. I was very excited for you. And then what's my guy's last name? It's not Bernetti.
Berrettini died so the Azzurri could fly.
Berrettini, except without the accent, because I can't do it the way that Lucas can. I can't trill my R's the way that a true Italian, a son of Italy can, a good boy. But to see Wimbledon in the morning, then to have a little bit of a break before the Euro 2020 championship, And then to finish it off, chef's kiss with an actually, it wasn't even competitive. The Bucks absolutely ran roughshod over the Phoenix Suns in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. And then all of the stuff in the world of football that I've missed out on, because there has been a tremendous amount, particularly with your Tennessee Titans. 3 players who have been dealing with injury in some form or fashion over the course of the last week while I was out said, hey, I'm good. I'm ready to roll. I'm back. And we will talk about who is the most important one of those 3 between Taylor Lewan, A.J. Brown, and Caleb Farley to be able to have back. But it seems you're going to get all 3, which is very exciting for you. 615-737-1045. But with the Euros, I saw the internet. Well, here was a couple different interesting facets of this. Not just the game itself, because the game, I mean, Lucas, you're more of a connoisseur of soccer than I am. But the game, to me, it felt a little clunky. It dragged on throughout the course of the penalty minutes. I think by the end of it, we were all just ready to get to PKs, even if people don't find penalty kicks to be a satisfactory way to decide a championship game. I understand the inherent unfairness in a solution like that. The game itself, okay, but there was plenty of drama. There was plenty of intrigue. And honestly, the crowd got me so into it in a way that maybe I'm just not watching enough soccer, international soccer on a regular basis, but the way that England and Italy, the supporters for each side, were invested in the outcome of this game, and just the heartbreaking way in which the English lost, seemingly forever their destiny to go down that way. Shouldn't have tried to colonize us, boys. That's what you get. Sorry to see it. You hate to see it. Lucas obviously has a rooting interest for the Italians. We as a country have a rooting interest against England. So if you weren't going for Italy yesterday, I got nothing for you.
Yes, the reports of it coming home were, in fact, premature.
Right.
But England
what are you
going to
do? Just read us your Twitter timeline today?
England did what they do. They start fast, so they start strong, they press high 15, 20 minutes, then they pack it in, and they leave themselves very little margin for error when they grab an early lead like they did, and they wanted to get to penalty kicks as badly as anybody because they were not going to win that game in regulation or in extra time. I did not want it to go to penalty kicks because anything can happen in a penalty shootout. But, of course, England, big stage, penalty shootout, these are the things that happen in these situations.
And certainly it was a dramatic finish, because when Jorginho has the opportunity at the game-winning PK and the goaltender for England makes a spectacular diving save.
Jordan Pickford.
Pickford, sorry. I'm unfamiliar with the rosters. But Pickford, the way that he performed throughout the entirety of that game,
whole tournament,
I thought was really, really special. He made all the difference, honestly, because I thought he was dead to rights. The way that it bounced off his hands, he was able to corral it and then secure it, and then the Italian goaltender made the game-winning stop in the penalty kicks. So I really enjoyed it stood out to me how many other people were watching this. Maybe because it's a slow time in the sports calendar if you're living in a place like Tennessee, because all we care about is football, without question. It's football. We know what the red meat is, okay? It's Vols and it's Titans and it's NFL and it's SEC. Anything in between, you could probably do without. But it stood out to me, and maybe this is just the way that my Twitter timeline has kind of curated itself and who I follow, but a lot of the people that we interact with on a local level seem to be paying attention to this game, which I found really interesting. You've seen, I don't want to call it a renewed interest in Nashville SC, because I think the way that COVID kind of interrupted their inaugural season did them dirty in terms of how they were looking to gain traction, right? That's been the biggest conversation about soccer coming to this market. How can they gain traction and try and find a foothold in a town that is football dominated, has a winning hockey team that is arguably the best ticket in town for a live sporting event? I would say it's the Preds, and it's not really close.
As far as just entertainment and
Yeah.
Game day product, yeah.
I mean, because they win, and also the in-arena environment is spectacular. This is something that was brought up on the Football and Other F Words podcast the other day. I was listening to it. Our buddy Zach Lyon said, what happens if the Preds in the NHL Stadium Series go into Nissan Stadium next year and outdo the Titans in their own stadium in terms of in-arena or in-stadium atmosphere. That would be – I don't know that it's not funny if you work for the Titans because that immediately puts you on blast.
Well, you could argue Nashville SC does just a little bit more as far as putting other things outside of the game for fans to latch onto. Like Joe Bonamassa, a blues legend, did the pregame solo the other day in front of 23,000 people. It was awesome.
The guitar riff, Soccer Moses, the whole 9 yards. Like, it's a great time to go to Nashville SC game. But largely the point has stood, can soccer make an impact in Nashville, Tennessee? In the same way that I'm sure 20 years ago they had the conversation about the Preds. Can the NHL make an impact, find a foothold in Nashville, Tennessee? Turns out, worked for hockey. It is possible for soccer. And watching the general excitement yesterday during the Euros really stood out to me. What we're going to do coming up next, because that I watched, but there was a great deal of stuff over the course of the last week when Braden and Will and Lucas were kind enough to carry this thing without me while I was able to enjoy some time off. Lucas said, hey, you want me to just tell you about all of the stuff that you missed? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. Be a good way to summarize our vacation time and catch the audience back up with us. So we're going to do that on the other side. Everything that we did not get a chance to react to, at least I didn't get a chance to react to. Coming up next, I'm Buck Reising, and this is 104.5 The Zone.
The best Titans, Vols, and Preds coverage. Blaine and Mickey. This afternoon, 1 to 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
Could have let you miss it. Italy, Euro 2020 champions by way of penalty kick decision yesterday. So now for the day, we are all Italians. Or at least Lucas is going to make us be all Italians. Now, we pointed out, if you missed the start of the show, that Lucas is wearing the exact same shirt that he wore yesterday whilst watching his team win the Euros. And we have put it on a poll. Can you wear the same shirt in back-to-back days? 59% of the audience so far saying yes. All of you, or at least 59% of you, are disgusting. Change your clothes. This is not acceptable behavior. I'm sorry. Because there's no way, in no way, shape, or form, because I'm seeing people say, like Puka is saying, if you don't sweat a lot, it's okay. Marv Silverstein says it's all dependent on the activity, but I say in certain cases, yes, especially if you're just lounging. But you weren't just lounging yesterday. You were drinking, you were celebrating, you were hugging everybody. There was no 6 to 10 feet. The protocol was not applied. I saw videos of you sprinting from person to person, embracing them because Italy had won.
Yes, if you were within 10 feet of me, you were getting hugged. That's how that worked yesterday.
Very glad I didn't go. Brian McLean says on YouTube, where you can interact with us on Zone TV, if you so choose, on YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope, and Twitch. Brian McLean says, what if we wash it when we shower? So wait, you're gonna wash? Do you only own one shirt? Is my question to you, Brian. Like you
take the shirt.
Are you taking the shirt off, washing the shirt, taking a shower, then putting on the same shirt? What would be the logic?
Or are you showering while wearing the shirt?
What? Like, are you one of these people that thinks that, like, getting in a swimming pool is a shower? Like, it's the same thing?
You talking to me or
I'm talking to you.
No.
You who is wearing the same soiled shirt twice in a row.
It's a special occasion, Buck, okay?
Are you really happy to have me back? Because I'm pretty sure you're not. Your tone.
I thought I was.
Your tone has already turned.
I was, Buck.
Your tone has already turned 22 minutes into the proceedings this morning. 615-737-1045. So, given that I've been out for a considerable amount of time, lounging, enjoying my vacation, now I'm back. I'm back until basically the bye week. So we are full steam ahead until football season, which gave me a little bit of I don't get the Sunday scaries. I get the football season scaries because I know, what that means for the rest for my life for basically the next 9 months. But I got the football season scaries on the plane ride home yesterday because I realized, oh my God, there's 2 weeks until training camp. This is when it really begins, which is exciting and also terrifying because I have many things to do before we finally get to it. But in the week that I was absent, there was a lot that I missed. And Lucas has put together a bullet point presentation to inform me of all of the things in sports that I did not pay attention to last week. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Sorry. Had to send an email.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you busy? Are we doing something?
So Conor McGregor snapped his ankle in the first round.
Saw that yesterday. Oh, that's
and he in his post surgery video on Twitter told Dustin Poirier that he won illegitimately.
Do you have the video? I
can find the video.
Okay, go get me the video if you wouldn't mind, because this is something that I had planned to spend a little more time on later in the show. Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier over the weekend. Saturday night, the snapped ankle heard around the world, or at least the meme, the picture of it. It's not a GIF, it's a meme, because a meme is a picture. A GIF is a moving picture, a video, if you will. But the snapped ankle of Conor McGregor was something that I could not look away from. Now, I'm starting to get more into the UFC. I really enjoy it, even though I believe it to be human cockfighting. But Conor McGregor, as a fascination, I don't get it. I'll be honest with you. I do not understand why people gravitate towards Conor McGregor, other than he's this outsized character. Because I was reading up on the fight after it had taken place, and of course Poirier wins by decision because McGregor physically couldn't perform on a snapped ankle. But I was reading up on what McGregor has been doing from a competitive standpoint in the last 5 years. He's kind of washed. If you look at his numbers, if you look at the way that he's performed against the top of his weight class, he's 1-3 in the last 5 years. I read that on ESPN this morning, and I don't know if it shocked me because I kind of knew that Conor McGregor hasn't been at peak performance since he, robbed us all blind by making us pay for the McGregor-Mayweather fight. But he seems to be a little bit washed. And still the money pours in. Still he draws in a way that makes everybody rich because he is an outsized personality, because he doesn't stop talking. 615-737-1045. There was a lot of, and if I'm going to look at how an athlete behaves, what an athlete has to say either before or after the fight, I have to put it into context, right? Because I look at Conor McGregor, his behavior before the fight, his behavior after the fight. When he's in a hospital bed after a 3.5-hour surgery because somebody had to stick a rod in his ankle to get his foot fixed. For me to look at that and say, he's kind of classless. Also ignores the fact that the fight game takes place in the gutter. Like the birthplace of the UFC, inherently dirty. So for me to look at a fighter and be like, yeah, classless. Somebody who beats the holy hell out of somebody else for money, for me to say classless, okay, probably not fair because it's the whole sport is ridiculous in that way. But I could not get over just how much I dislike this dude and why anybody still cares about him. 1-3 in the last 5 years. The last time Conor McGregor beat a fighter at the top of his weight class, Lucas, can you guess when that was? A year. You don't have to give me a fight. You don't have to give me a UFC 200 and something. Can you guess the last year that Conor McGregor beat a fighter at the top of his weight class?
2016.
Did you look at this beforehand?
No, I swear to God.
Okay.
Is that right?
2016. That's Eddie Alvarez. That's the last time Conor McGregor beat somebody at the top of his weight class. Now, I'm into the sport, and I'm into the villains. Conor McGregor is decidedly a villain, both in the octagon and outside of the octagon. But why people still continue to gravitate towards him, for me, it's just kind of like boxing where it's, YouTubers versus TikTokers. And because you're a bigger personality or you have a bigger social media following, that inherently makes you a bigger draw, a better get, a better pay-per-view person to prop up in front of the masses. That, with Conor McGregor, at least he's got experience as a fighter. With the Jake and Logan Paul thing, by the way, did you see Logan Paul? $100,000 chain he made of Conor McGregor, like sleeping, sponsored by NyQuil. It was $100,000 diamond chain that hangs around Logan Paul's neck because he's obviously trying to, bully Conor McGregor, maybe not bully, but goad Conor McGregor into fighting him for untold amounts of money. So he was saying before the fight, hey, Conor, you better win. You better not go sleepy time like this chain that I've made custom of you because I got $100,000 to burn on a diamond necklace that I'm going to hang around my neck if Conor McGregor passed out on the side of the ring.
I can see that fight happening.
Oh, it's going to. 100. Now Conor needs it because that's the only way he's relevant to me. 615-737-1045 before we roll on with what I missed in sports this week. Jonah is in Dixon. He wants to weigh in on the UFC. What's up, Jonah?
What's up, Buck? You were talking about how you just don't get the Conor McGregor, phenomenon. And, I'm not a big Conor McGregor fan, but you said that you were just kind of getting into UFC more and more. But I think if you want to understand Conor McGregor, you kind of have to be there from the start because, you look at him now and he's not really backing up what he's talking. But, back in the day, he was talking smack and backing it up. And I think that, drew a lot of fans in. The sport would not be where it's at without Conor McGregor. And another thing I wanted to touch on was you said that it's a classless sport of guys just beating up people for money. But, the NFL is that every single week. There's 17 weeks of people beating up on each other, getting way more injured in the NFL than the UFC. So that's what I got. So see you.
No, I appreciate the call, Jonah. 615-737-1045. I'm sure this is going to turn it. And listen, people love the UFC. Here's what I'll say. I'm late to the party as like a day-to-day consumer of the sport. Conor McGregor, and Jonah's spot on, by the way. The UFC doesn't get vaulted. Here's two things that made the UFC what it is today. All right? Conor McGregor, because he was a legitimately marketable star. And, I'm blanking. This is really embarrassing. I'm blanking on her name. She was the biggest star in all of sports. Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey, yeah.
Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor. Okay, two marketable stars on either the men's and women's side of the sport. You elevate them on a platform where everybody wants a piece. Everybody has an opinion on Conor McGregor, and at the time of her ascent to fame, Ronda Rousey. And then the pandemic happened, okay? Dana White, for whatever your stance, because apparently we have to take stances on COVID, whatever your stance was on COVID-19 and how things should have been handled, Dana White said, no. We're going straight for the cash. We represent two things, human cockfighting and the ability to make money. And, the fighters are paid. I think it's like 18% of the profits the fighters actually make, which is an outrageously low sum that Dana White pays his fighters. But I digress. They went face first into the COVID sports era where there were no sports to consume and said, okay, Fight Island. We're going to build an octagon on an island. You're going to consume these fights. Disney Plus is just starting to roll out. They need content. Baby, we got it for you. And now UFC is one of the main things, one of the main assets of Disney's sports enterprise. They are using this in a way to drive subscribers to ESPN Plus. Now, that's inside media stuff. Maybe you guys aren't paying attention to cord cutting and how media rights are being distributed and sold and bought, things of this nature, and what's kind of taking over the landscape. But damn sure, Disney making human cockfighting mainstream has done wonders for the face of the UFC, for the front-facing entity of the UFC. Because I'm pretty sure ESPN and Disney would have looked at that 5 years ago and be like, nah, this is not, we're family friendly. We're family fun. This is dude snapping an ankle live on national television and everybody not being able to look away because it's blood sport. 615-737-104. I mean, we plan to get to a bunch of different stuff, Lucas. I don't know that you're going to have the opportunity. We will see. 615-737-1045. Nick is in Murfreesboro. He wants to talk about Conor McGregor. What's up, Nick?
Hey, man, just wanted to get your guys' opinion. Whose ankle was harder to watch, or McGregor? I'm going to hang up.
Wait. Don't hang up, Nick. Don't hang up because your phone line cut out. Oh, he hung up.
I think he was asking what was harder to watch, McGregor or Prescott.
Oh, Dak?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, I would say McGregor because there's only two people that you're focusing on during a UFC fight. On the football field, you may have seen that something went wrong with Dak's ankle during the play, but you're really following the ball. I don't remember the exact play that Dak Prescott broke his ankle on, whether it was a running play or a pass play. I can't remember exactly. But now they obviously show the injury replays, which are gruesome, and I can't look at it. I'll always look away from the injury replays. I hate that they do that on television broadcasts. I understand why they do it, but I hate that they do it.
Dax was probably harder to watch in the sense that that's a season-ending injury for a guy in a contract year who's looking to get paid. And you can see the emotional impact as he's getting carted off in tears, right?
Right.
With McGregor, not so much. Either way, he's going to be one of the richest athletes on the planet.
Yeah. No, so to that end, from a human interest perspective, it was Dak.
Yeah.
Because Dak had been going back and forth with the Cowboys. He was on the precipice of life-changing generational money, and then his ankle snapped. Now he ended up getting paid anyway. How many positions? By the way, if I'm Lamar Jackson and I'm getting ready to negotiate my own contract without an agent taking whatever agents take from NFL players, I believe it's standard for players is 3%. If I'm Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott just got $40 million off a snapped ankle and I think the Cowboys have a losing record with Dak. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. I shouldn't say that without knowing for certain. But they're right around 500. It's not like the Cowboys, other than having a playoff appearance, it's not like the Cowboys have been anything that legitimately wins with Dak Prescott. If I'm Lamar Jackson looking to negotiate my own contract, I'm like, all right, you just gave Dak $40 million off a broken ankle. Sign me up for whatever the top of the market is. I earned it. That should be Lamar Jackson's position. And honestly, if all of the preconceived notions about quarterback markets that we know to be so hold true. He should be at the top of the market, even with guys like Patrick Mahomes out there. What else did I miss, Lucas?
You missed the U.S. men's national team in basketball losing to Nigeria.
The replay of this game was on yesterday before the Euros started, and I watched from about the third quarter on, and it looked to me like Team USA actually cared about this exhibition game. Nigeria actually cared about this exhibition game. Two teams looked invested, and then Team USA lost. Now, there are a lot of jokes to be made at the expense of people like Kevin Durant and Dame Lillard who have not, themselves, because of course Durant has championships with the Golden State Warriors, but the knock on Kevin Durant has always been, okay, do it without the help of a super team, right? So you're seeing this hodgepodge of players who aren't in the finals trying to win something, and then everybody's shocked when they lose, even though we, as the United States of America, should have the best and do have the best talent when it comes to professional basketball across any nation that there is. There shouldn't really be much competition at this point, other than whatever team Luka plays for.
Want to move on?
Yes.
You also missed.
That's what I was looking at you for. Thank you for work. What do we got to find chemistry? It's been a week. We got to find chemistry again.
You also missed Lionel Messi finally winning an international trophy with Argentina.
Oh, so he's no longer a fraud? So I no longer have to look at Messi as a fraud?
He was never a fraud. He just was never to the level of Maradona, and he still isn't because Maradona won a World Cup, and he did not.
No. Win something. And now he's won something, so I can't say that anymore. But it's like Kevin Durant. Hey, do it yourself. Do it on your own. Fraud.
You also missed Kumar Rocker falling to 10th in the MLB draft to the Mets.
What did I miss with that? Because I saw Leiter went 2 to the Rangers.
Yep.
And I had this on while I was getting ready for primetime last night. It's the only reason to be invested for any particular reason with the MLB draft, because Vanderbilt was going to have, one would have thought, 2 top 5 picks at the very least. But to see Kumar Rocker slide and for him to go, I know the Mets are in first place right now. The Braves currently in second, and we'll get to what happened to Ronald Acuna Jr. over the weekend, because that has to be heartbreaking for any number of reasons. Whether you're a fan of baseball, whether you're a fan of the Braves, that really sucked to see him tear his ACL on Saturday. But I could not. I didn't know if there was something that I'd missed. Like, was the evaluation of Kumar Rocker across the MLB something different than what we all consumed throughout the course of his career at Vanderbilt? Make that make sense to me, or can you?
I cannot. I have nothing to make that make sense.
Well,
sorry for that. That lack of contribution.
Thank you for that. Did you realize? So this was your idea, by the way, this bit
yes.
that we're doing?
Yes.
615-737-1045 if you want to weigh in. So did you come into this thinking, I'm just going to come prepared with 5 words and no other information, no other context on the topic?
Yes.
And let me flounder?
Yes.
After knowing that I didn't watch anything in sports for a week?
I told you I have 8 bullet points, and I'm just going to all of them in a few words. Like Caden Salter is going to play for Hugh Freeze at Liberty.
No, you're doing the whole show. What are you doing here?
I'm telling you what you missed.
We're bringing this to a screeching halt. This is what I saw what happened over the weekend. I'm talking about last week in sports. What Caden Salter going to Liberty is something that was on my radar, something that's built into the show later. Are you burning topics for the rest of the show?
As far as what happened last week, all we got is McGregor and the U.S. losing, Acuna tearing his ACL, and Messi winning an international
trophy. So what the hell
trophy.
did you do for a week while I was gone? What happened?
Hung out with Braden and Will. We had a good time. Oh, how about this? You missed Nashville SC putting more people to watch a soccer game than Vanderbilt had to watch them beat a ranked Missouri team in 2019.
Really?
23,000 people in Nissan Stadium for a draw against Atlanta United.
I hate that it ended in a draw.
It's not a good result. It was a very depleted Atlanta United team, and both of their goals came on set pieces. Their only 2 opportunities of the game.
Lebowski just wrote in the YouTube comments, did Lucas just go off-season list on you, Buck? Is that what you just did? I leave for a week, you get lazy?
I'm telling you what has happened in the last week since you've been gone.
This is unbelievable. To that end, though, Nashville SC, by the way, you're going to have the opportunity to go to a Nashville SC game with us. We are going to be giving, throughout the course of this week, Nashville SC and T-Mobile, thank you to both of those entities, have been kind enough to put together a VIP night for us as a show at the Nashville SC game against the Chicago Fire on Saturday. And we are going to have the opportunity to take 20 of you guys with us. Listeners of the show, we're very excited about that. But, I mean, I guess it's the easiest way to do the analysis on that, Lucas, is would you rather go to a Nashville SC game or go to a Vandy football game?
Nashville SC game.
Without question.
Yeah. I'd rather see Joe Bonamassa shred on the guitar and then watch some fun soccer for 90 minutes than anything regarding Vanderbilt football.
So, I mean, should we be surprised that they outdrew them? Like, is it – and I'm not doing this to slight Vanderbilt or diminish Nashville SC, but should we be surprised by that?
Yes and no, because yes, in that it's an SEC school in Nashville, Tennessee, and no, in that it's a professional sport going up against Vanderbilt athletics, which has just never had a big draw. Vanderbilt football does not draw a big crowd unless Tennessee is in town playing the Commodores.
All right, how much is left on your list? How many bullet points do you have left of stuff that I probably already consumed that you thought I didn't?
I've got the Suns are not sweeping the Bucks.
Oh my God!
But you already said you
I
consumed
hate
that,
you.
and it's coming to Rome.
What are you doing? Oh, really? That's how we end? What a commercial break!
Not that much happened last week.
Get me out of here!
Every great Titans moment happens here. Your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
on Zone TV explaining to me what the hell J. Mart and Ramon were talking about this morning. Turtle reproduction? Ramon apparently took his kids to the zoo on vacation. Had to explain to his youngest what was happening. Now they've been doing a sound effect all morning of what it's what it's like when the turtles go full birds and bees. I don't understand how they do it.
It's a family show.
It's I mean, literally. That's imagine being in the car with your child. Well, I guess nobody's in school right now. Maybe you're taking your kid to day camp. And you turn on 104.5 The Zone, and you listen to Jason Martin, Ramon Foster, and Jonathan Schaefer regaling you and regaling your child with the birds and the bees conversation that you may or may not be prepared to have with your children just yet. But it's about turtles. That is what I imagine 4 hours of J. Martin Ramon to be like every weekday right before we come on, 6 to 10 a.m. What I want to get to in a second. Actually, you know what? Let's do the notebook, and then we'll talk about the Titans and who is coming back from injury, because the people want to know. So every Monday, it is our custom to recap all of the things that we do not have time to spend a full segment on, but we will designate this emptying of the notebook for all of those things that I feel are important, that I want to get off my chest. So we'll start with since we're going to be talking about the Titans and players coming back from injury and Twitter announcements, let's start with some Titans Twitter etiquette, shall we? So I saw a thread going around on social media while I was sitting in the airport yesterday. It was a Titans Twitter person, a Titans fan, who said, tag your favorite Titans player, former or present, on Twitter and see if they'll respond. Let's get this thread going. Now, initially, my reaction was to say, oh, my God, that's my worst nightmare if somebody was to do that. Because anytime somebody has a sports opinion about the Titans in particular, they'll tag a bunch of us, whether it's me or Jimmy or John Glennon or whomever, people who cover the team, Teron Davenport, and say, what do you guys think of X, Y, and Z? And then it immediately devolves into a full conversation about everybody else's opinion. And I love to know what you guys think, but sometimes it can be a lot. So immediately in my head, I'm like, oh, my God, this is a nightmare if you're a Titans player. But the way that people were responding, once Titans players like Lawan and Chris Johnson, Brian Arakpo, Kevin Byard, once they started to respond in that thread, I thought it was really cool to see. It is the rare moment when Twitter can actually have some redeeming qualities. Having access to your favorite athletes a lot of times is probably bad for the athletes because sometimes the internet cannot be a kind place. But in these wholesome moments, it really can revive your belief in the institution of social media. I don't know if it went that far, but it was definitely better than, you peppering the athletes saying how bad they sucked on Sunday or Saturday or whenever it is they play. While I was sitting in the airport, it was on the way back from Chicago because that's where I spent the better part of my week. Now, I have not had the opportunity previously in my life to spend a longer amount of time in Chicago exploring the city. And I think this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I don't know how many people listening to this show have been to both Chicago and New York City. But Chicago, I used to live in New York City. Chicago is like New York, except clean and like a nice place to live, a nice place to spend time. Now, I would not be at either of these places in the winter because their weather is absolutely miserable. But I could not get over how much fun I had going to the Field Museum, learning about all different kinds of history and sociology and things of this nature that I had no concept of before. I got all the experience of New York without the smell and the garbage of New York. I am officially declaring the city of Chicago a superior city to New York City. I think that's an unpopular opinion. Also, on my travels, service animals in the airport. This is something that we must actively fight against as a society. It has gotten out of hand. I would not ever think to travel with an animal. I would always opt to get somebody to come take care of my pets or to board my pets because that seems like it would be the better experience for the animal. I don't care how long you're going away. I don't care where you're going. Don't bring your pet on a plane unless you actually need it. I'm sitting on a flight or at the gate waiting to get on a plane with a dog who's got one of these service animal vests on. And clearly it's not a service animal. Clearly it's something that's the owner has just applied for so the dog could sit next to him on the plane. Have you ever had this happen to you before where you go onto a plane and a dog urinates on the flight?
Oh, my God.
That happened to me. That happened to me. Leave your pets at home. They're not people. They're dogs. They're cats. If you show up with a service giraffe, you're not getting on the damn plane. Service guinea pig. Out of here. Send it straight into the sun. The dog peed on the flight. It smelled like urine.
Oh, my God.
I could not. I'm telling you, I already have. I'm already a tough person to deal with, okay? I already have a lot of things that set me off in ways that most people would not get set off. This, in particular, this drove me insane. That's what's in the notebook for this weekend. I had a lot more, but, a week's worth of old news is probably not something you want me to bury you with. Lonzo says Chicago is a dump. That is as far that, no. I'm sorry. Just no. Now, maybe, I stayed on Michigan Avenue, right by the lake. It was beautiful. It was walking distance from everything, the architecture. We went to our buddy Ryan Hurd was playing a concert at the Windy City Smokeout. Had no idea that he was going to be up there. I texted him. He invited us to the show. We ended up backstage for Darius Rucker and Ryan Hurd and all of these great artists that were performing, but in Chicago. It was an incredible time. It's not a dump. It's a fantastic place. I could not recommend. Yes, I had Giordano's. Blew any other deep dish pizza I've ever had out of the water. Now, I've never had Chicago deep dish pizza in Chicago, so that probably makes a difference. But, there's no comparison. This was not the bread bowl full of marinara sauce that I feared it was, because that is how they do things outside of Chicago. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. And a conversation you're going to want to have coming up next, because there has been a lot of lists in the NFL lately. I saw one. I came to the table prepared to talk about a top 10 offensive tackle list. That's not that sexy. But what has people pissed off today is, yet again, Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill was left off a top 10 list, this time by ESPN. We are going to go through who was on the list. We are going to debate the validity of the list, and we would be fascinated to know your opinion. Does it even bother you when these things are created, whether they're by Pro Football Focus, whether they're by ESPN, Bleacher Report, everything in between, and you see players who you know clearly belong in this category, top 10 or otherwise, whether they be Derrick Henry or A.J. Brown or Ryan Tannehill, who seems to receive the most amount of these snubs? Does it bother you? Does it evoke any emotion in you at all? Or do you just not care? Get me to football season. Because that is something I could sympathize with. We'll talk about it coming up next. Matt will lead us off. Actually, let's squeeze Matt in here really quickly since he's on the subject of service dogs. Hello, Matt. How are we?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I got two stories for you about the service animal, because I agree with you. One, me and my lady were flying from L.A. back to Nashville, and this girl, I love Great Danes, but she was maybe 5'4", and she had a 160-pound Great Dane as her emotional support dog, and it sat in the row next to me, of course. And I just didn't understand how you let this dog. It's not comfortable on a plane.
No.
And then the second one, a person had a ferret in like one of those harnesses, and I honestly felt bad for the ferret because this person that it's with thinks that that's an emotional support animal. So I don't know. I'm with you 100%. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the call, Matt. You're not doing it for the dog. You're not doing it for the ferret. You're doing it because you're a selfish POS. All right, that's the only. And again, this is not an attack on the blind or people who need service animals. Okay, I feel like I should say that.
Yeah, you should make that clear
before my tone gets too out of hand.
Oh, challenge a blind person at an airport. What do you need that dog for?
You don't need that cane. Out of here. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking to you people. You people, you know who you are, that lie so you don't have to pay the fee to travel your animal. You call it a service animal, and then it's sitting next to me on a flight peeing in the aisle. Go to hell. We'll talk Titans coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Everything Titans. God! Your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
Marlins series that they've had in basically 3 weeks at this point, went in their favor. They got 2 of 3, but to lose Acuna was devastating. And we will talk with Kris Willis about the implications of that coming up next. I want to spend some time, though, because there is Titans content to be consumed, to be discussed. And I don't know how much time I want to spend on another list, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know if you guys get as tired of the lists as I do, because they're just done to provoke you. They really are. That's all they exist to do. And not just you as Titans fans, but to provoke everybody. If there's a Raiders fan out there that thinks Derek Carr belongs in the top 10, he or she would be wrong, but they are going to be upset about the fact that Derek Carr is not in the top 10 according to ESPN, because that's where ESPN is in full list mode right now. So Jeremy Fowler has been putting out these, preseason previews, for lack of a better term, ranking the NFL's top positions, top 10 at each position for 2021. They ask 50 execs and coaches, as well as some players, to make their picks. And so now we have officially gotten the quarterback list as of this morning at 6 a.m. Dropped on a Monday to start the news cycle off in a slower sports week. About who the NFL's best quarterback is. So for the purposes of content and conversation, lists do serve a particular evil. All right? When we don't have football to talk about, this is our way of talking football. But I still can't stand the arbitrary ranking of things like quarterbacks, especially when they're just wrong. Now, Jeremy Fowler actually went on J. Martin Ramon this morning because Ryan Tannehill, the Titans quarterback, is not on the list. He is not on the list of the top 10 at the position heading into 2021. I will go through them for you as they have been listed at ESPN.com. Patrick Mahomes, 1. Rodgers, 2. Tom Brady, 3. Russell Wilson, 4. Josh Allen, 5. Okay, so far I'm fine. I'm not upset. 6. Matt Stafford. Statistically, sure, he doesn't win anything. But yeah, we will see if he is able to jettison himself onto the next phase of his career now that he plays for a winning organization, the Rams instead of the Lions. I'm not mad at that. 7, Dak Prescott. Now, this is where I start to fray because Dak also has not won anything. Dak is coming off a snapped ankle. Dak is a good quarterback. I'm not here to deny that because I know there are still, even though we are in Tennessee, there are Cowboys fans everywhere, and they would come for my neck. And I do not fear the Cowboys fans. I will say to you that I think Dak Prescott to be slightly overrated. I'm not saying he's like wildly overrated, but I don't think he's the 7th best quarterback in football right now. 8, Lamar Jackson. Definitely should not be. He should definitely, Lamar, for what he has done so far, should be above Prescott, Stafford, and frankly, Josh Allen, as far as I'm concerned. But this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of 50 anonymous execs, coaches, and players. 9, Justin Herbert. All right, I'll listen. But 10 is where you lose me. 10 is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, who also, and Justin Herbert as well, have not won anything. Have not won anything at all. Yes, they are talented players. I was as impressed with Justin Herbert as I was with any other rookie at any position in the sport last year. The guy, assuming that his career does not get derailed or there's not a sophomore slump, he's going to be special. I really do think. Kyler Murray is exciting to watch. Kyler Murray also went 8-8 last year. So why am I not looking at winning quarterbacks on a list of the top 10? Why am I not looking at Ryan Tannehill? Why am I not looking at players who are superior across the NFL? Now, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, guys like that are on the way out. Rivers already gone. Roethlisberger at the end of his career and fraying pretty quickly. So we are at a point where we're going to see a new generation of quarterback. But, I guess if you look at the other options where quarterbacks also receiving votes are Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Roethlisberger, Tannehill, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield. How the hell Carson Wentz got a vote? Beyond me. The worst starting quarterback in football in 2020. And I don't think it was particularly close. How the hell Carson Wentz, just because he's going to play for Frank Reich, there was nothing out of football last year to indicate to me that Carson Wentz was worthy of one of these votes. So Tannehill out. Tannehill at this point. In fact, do we have the Jeremy Fowler audio, Lucas? Is that it? Did I send you on a wild goose chase? He's still looking for it because I told him right when the Open was playing. So we'll see if Lucas can't locate that. But Jeremy Fowler was on J. Martin Ramon this morning and basically gave voice to, Tannehill wasn't terribly close in this top 10 ranking. 615-737-1045. What do you consider any of this analysis to be legitimate if it does not include Ryan Tannehill? Analysis like that of Jeremy Fowler, who was responsible for writing these top 10 pieces over the past couple of days.
Yeah, it's tough for guys like that where, he's a very good player. He's been incredibly efficient. Teams just don't see him as like an elite traits guy. He's got ability, obviously, but they don't see him as like when you check every box, does Ryan Tannehill show up, So like Justin Herbert he's a guy that could be top 5 next year based on just his ability. I would say Tannehill probably came in 13th or 14th, right in that Joe Burrow range. Slightly ahead of like Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. And that's a good spot to be. You can win with that. Like he's a guy you can win with and win big with because he's really consistent and can make deep throws and can do a lot of things for you. But, it's just, is he like a scheme transcendent guy? You can put him in any system and he can throw the ball 50 times a game and dominate. Like he's not looked upon as that.
Interesting.
So, is Lamar Jackson looked at like somebody who can throw the ball 50 times a game and dominate? Is Kyler Murray? Is Josh Allen? The analysis doesn't make sense to me. How am I supposed to do the math of saying, okay, top 10 based on what? On performance, on statistics, on wins, on playoff appearances. Yes, it's a small sample size for Tannehill because he's only been to the playoffs with Tennessee. The Dolphins did make the playoffs when Ryan Tannehill was in Miami, but it was Matt Moore who started that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers because Ryan Tannehill was hurt that year. I don't understand people who give that, and I'm not coming after Jeremy Fowler that way, but for all of the reasons that he just gave for why Ryan Tannehill isn't in could be applied to almost every other one of these quarterbacks outside of the top 3, I would argue. Don't get bent out of shape about the lists. It's not worth your energy. It's not worth your effort. There are plenty of other things in sports to be upset about other than where, ESPN or Fox or CBS or hell, if I did a top 10 quarterback ranking. Nobody cares. That's just my opinion if I was to do that. It's not something that actually has any merit on how successful or how good the players that play for the Titans are. Because often Titans players are on the outside looking in on these lists because of where they play and how few people actually watch them. We'll get into this more later in the show, but we are going to talk about something that should distress sports fans. And that's what happened to Ronald Acuna Jr. over the weekend and what it means for not just the Braves, but for the sport of baseball. We'll continue to take your calls. In fact, I want to start here because there is crossing the line to me is putting out a top 10 list in the offseason. But Todd in Smithville is alleging that I have crossed the line, and now I'm curious to hear why. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Hey, Buck. Hey, I agree with you 100%, 1,000% on the animals on the plane. I fly about 80 round trips a year. I agree with you. Call them POS, okay, that's all right too, maybe. But telling them to go to hell, I think he stretched it just a little farther, partner. And Tannehill, let him run under the radar. That's fine with me.
Hey,
appreciate it.
Thank you for the call, Todd. Yes, I was a bit strident in telling all of the people who bring animals on planes go to hell. But, Todd, I'll be honest with you. I'm a double down on that. I regret nothing. I would still tell those people to go to hell. I do appreciate your input, though. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. 615-737-1045. 1045. When we come back, we are going to talk about the Atlanta Braves. We're going to talk about baseball because it is All-Star Week. The Home Run Derby tonight, but missing notably from the All-Star game this weekend will be Ronald Acuna Jr. because he tore his ACL on Saturday against the Marlins, and we will talk with Kris Willis, who covers the Braves, about this matter coming up next. I'm Buck Reising, and this is 1045 The Zone.
More Titans opinion and analysis than anyone else. The 3HL with Brent Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay. This afternoon starting at 3, 1045 The Zone.
it's All-Star week, even if it's the All-Star break. But you were robbed of something that you should have had in this week's game. Ronald Acuna Jr. We'll get to that momentarily, but we have people waiting patiently on the phones to talk about what we just got done with, which is Ryan Tannehill being excluded from ESPN's top 10 quarterbacks of 2021 list. So we go to Darrington first in Nashville, who wants to weigh in on Tannehill. What's up, Darrington?
Hello, Mr. Luck. Glad to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
And I would appreciate it if you would not give Mr. Lucas a hard time about re-rocking his shirt from the excitement of victory. That's just part of it. It's excitement. You just let it live.
He smells like beer, Darrington. I can't.
Amen, Darrington. And I don't smell like beer.
He smells like victory. That's what it smells like, victory. So it seems to me that my whole take on Ryan Tannehill seems to be right. I've been telling people that he's not a top 10 quarterback.
Uh-oh.
Now, all of those quarterbacks that you named, those top 10s, did you notice that all of those coaches allow those quarterbacks to win the game, and then he's not a scheme quarterback, unlike Mr. Tannehill here? Also, if you want to put him in the top 10, then you might as well put Kirk Cousins in the top 10. It's about excitement. It's about draw. Now, the reason why Titans fans are excited about Ryan Tannehill and overhyped, because we have not had a quarterback since Steve McNair who could actually throw the football. So they tend to be overexcited. We're not as excited about Derrick Henry is because we're used to running the football. That's what we're accustomed to. And so now that we have someone who can throw the ball, it's like a brand new toy on Christmas. You play with it for a while. It's exciting. It has its moments for the most part. But at the end of the day, you know what it is. And Ryan Tannehill is just a very, very good game manager with highlights.
You know what? But I'll take that. Wouldn't you? Game manager is not the knock, I think, to NFL people. Game manager is not the knock that I think a lot of people believe it to be. I don't consider the term game manager to be a slight at all. Now, if your offense is constipated because you fear taking chances down the field, Alex Smith, who was a wonderful human, a wonderful story, an incredible triumph of humanity and a testament to human will. And also, I hated to watch Alex Smith play football because that is what people associate with game manager. That is not what NFL people associate with the term game manager. That's what that's what they want most of these quarterbacks to do. Manage, distribute, be efficient. Your life before Ryan Tannehill, since really Steve McNair. I mean, you had a couple, good Hasselbeck seasons in there? Outside of that, what was there? It was a quarterbackless wasteland. Not something that I think Titans fans or anybody else would go back to. Now, I mean, I'm putting him easily over Kyler Murray, which should be enough to get him into the top 10. I think he's better than Matt Ryan. I am not one of these people like Darrington who believes him to be Matt Schaub, which is among the dumbest things that I've ever heard. And I love Darrington. I respect his opinion, except that one. That one I cannot. Not the person who leads the NFL for like most consecutive pick sixes, Matt Schaub. Again, respectfully. But the Tannehill conversation, it's going to continue until he wins something until he continues to prove himself. A division title, whether you want to look at it as an upgrade or a step up from the run that they made in 2019, winning a division title was critical because you haven't done it in a long time. How he progresses from here, whether they ask him to shoulder more of the burden, because you're right, Darrington, he doesn't. It's not that he's not asked to do a lot. Ryan Tannehill is what makes this offense flow the way that it does. No question, Derrick Henry is an incredibly important piece of it. No question, A.J. Brown is a spectacular talent. No question, Julio Jones is going to be somebody who adds a different dimension to this offense. But nothing happens without a good quarterback. A very good quarterback. A quarterback who outscored the Kansas City Chiefs last year. A quarterback who had a better offense than all but 2 other teams in the sport last year. 40 total touchdowns, 33 through the air, 7 on the ground. Ryan Tannehill is great. At least this version of him is. I don't know why people can't get past that stigma. It's like the smell of the Dolphins still hovers over him. Anyway, what we're going to do quickly before we get to Kris Willis and talk some Braves baseball is we have a very exciting event that we're going to get to have with you guys this weekend. Nashville SC, their second Major League season underway. We want everybody in. So we want caller 5 right now, 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. 615-737-1045. We're going to give you a pair of tickets to attend a VIP night at the Nashville SC game against the Chicago Fire this Saturday with us. Lucas, myself, maybe some special guests. We have a bunch of tickets to give away to hang out with us this weekend to go to a Nashville SC game. So be caller 5 now. You may have to jump through one more hoop. Lucas will tell you about it on the other side. But in the meantime, 615-737-1045. And we're going to talk some Braves baseball because there's a lot going on in the city of Atlanta as well with Kris Willis, who joins us now here on 1045 The Zone. At Kris_Willis is where you can follow him on social media. Kris, what's going on, man? How we living? Kris is muted. It's okay, Kris. I'm a professional.
Sorry
I got
that.
you. You're good. What's going on?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Man, we're doing okay. We're deeply disappointed, to be honest with you, just based on what's happening with the Atlanta Braves. I know they got 2 out of 3 against the Marlins over the weekend, but to lose Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of the biggest stories, if not the biggest story right now in baseball outside of Shohei Ohtani. So let's start with the micro before we go macro. What does this mean for this Braves team, who's currently in second place behind the Mets, trying to make a push in the NL East?
I mean, it's a devastating blow in a lot of ways. Everything has gone wrong for this team this season, and somehow they have hung around still in the race. But it just seems like losing Acuna now, that's, the odds are just mounting against them. It's going to be really difficult coming out of the break. The schedule really ramps up, leading into the trade deadline. So there's going to be some hard decisions to make. But Acuna felt like, I guess you could make the same case for Freddie Freeman. But Acuna just felt like the guy that you just couldn't afford to lose. He's kind of the heart and soul of the team. He's the best player on the team. He's the most dynamic player on the team, offensively, defensively. And I think Brian Snitker said it best Sunday. You can't replace that guy. He's arguably one of the best players in Major League Baseball. And, you're not going to replace him. You just have to kind of move on.
So what does moving on look like, I guess, because you're right. I mean, he's going to leave a gaping hole in their defense, and there's not anybody on the roster who's going to be able to supplement what he provides to that team. How do they move forward?
That's a great question, and I wish I had a better answer right now. That's the one big thing. I think that's the big storyline coming out of the All-Star break is how they are going to move forward. I think early on, we can assume that they're going to try to fill it from within. But, obviously the focus is going to be on the trade deadline. It's coming up. They needed a bat in the worst way before Acuna got hurt. Now they could probably use, at least one, maybe another one, especially in the outfield. I wish I had a better answer. There hasn't been a whole lot of trade deadline chatter involving the Braves, but they've got to be in the market. You feel like, but at the same time, they're also in this, they're in this weird spot. They're a game below 500. So, depending on how they approach it, how they decide to approach it, and it may very well depend on how they look, coming out of the break.
Kris Willis is here with us on 1045 The Zone. We're talking about the Braves and the loss of Ronald Acuna Jr. over the weekend. He covers the Braves for Talking Chop, managing editor there as well. So from a macro standpoint, because he's not only the face, the heart and soul of the Braves right now, but he's one of the most outstanding players in the sport. This is not just a loss for the Braves, understanding what it means likely for for their sustainability. But this is a loss for a star player and a sport that desperately needs young stars to kind of bring them to the forefront at a time when they should be dominating sports anyway, but they've got everybody else pulling at them with the way that the pandemic has kind of moved seasons around. You're seeing basketball and hockey later into the summer kind of infringing upon baseball's territory, and the NFL can make news whenever it wants. What does this do from a macro standpoint to have him not a part of baseball right now?
I think it's a crushing blow, for baseball. It feels like Acuna's been overshadowed just a little bit by, and no disrespect, but for Fernando Tatis Jr. and some of those guys have kind of stepped into the light. But there's no doubt Acuna's in that conversation. You watch him day in, day out. He's that same type of dynamic player, and I think there's no better example of what you're talking about than this weekend. He would have been in the All-Star game. He would have been starting. He was voted in to start. He'd been in the outfield for the National League, and and he's the type of guy that in the biggest moments, that's when he rises. And there's no doubt in my mind, there's a very good chance that he would have done something special in Colorado this weekend. So it's a big blemish on the game, kind of for the whole league. Honestly, you never want to see a young star go down. And especially one of the caliber of Ronald Acuna Jr.
Did it surprise you that he still wants to go to Colorado for the festivities?
Not really. I think he's that kind of guy. I think he loves baseball, loves being around it, has fun. I mean, it's clear. That's the one thing. If you don't watch the Braves regularly, you watch one game, you'll see just how much fun this guy has playing baseball. And I think, there was never a doubt in my mind if they'll let him go, he'll be there. There's as long as he's not having surgery, I expect to see him in that dugout.
Kris Willis of Talking Chop, kind enough to give us some of his time to catch up on all the things happening with the Braves and Ronald Acuna Jr. over the weekend. Kris, we really appreciate the time, and we'll continue to follow at Kris_Willis. Kris with a K on Twitter is where you can find him. Thank you, Kris.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Man, I really hate what this does to the sport. I really do. It is something, because I mean the headliner is Shohei Ohtani. Like if you're even paying the slightest bit of attention to baseball right now, Shohei Ohtani is the name on the marquee. He is. I mean, when you talk about faces of a sport, baseball's always struggled, right? Because it's been Mike Trout. Except how many of us can actually, fringe sports fans, how many of us would recognize Mike Trout in the street, right? That's always the line. Bryce Harper, maybe, but Bryce Harper has been wildly overrated throughout the course of his career, and certainly since he's been with the Phillies has kind of tailed off out of that spotlight. So now you have Shohei Ohtani, now you have Fernando Tatis Jr., now you have guys like Ronald Acuna, young players who are just shining on a national spotlight in a sport that is largely regional. This would have been their opportunity collectively to get people excited. I think there's legitimate buzz about the All-Star game this year in ways that maybe, I don't know, again, if it's like soccer for me, where I'm just starting to pay closer attention to it, where I'm, especially given how many different things we talk about on the radio show, that I'm just kind of keeping tabs on it more. But with Ohtani specifically, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on both the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game itself this week. The Home Run Derby, of course, taking place tonight. I mean, is there something that gets people – this is pretty funny. Rocky G just tweeted us, are y'all interviewing Jeremy Pruitt about the Atlanta Braves? He didn't say aight. I didn't hear a night.
You got to say aight to be Jeremy Pruitt.
Aight. There was a little bit of Pruitt to Kris Willis, though. But Kris does a great job covering the Braves for Talking Chop. You should check him out at Kris_Willis. I saw, and then there's that, and I honestly, I should have asked Kris about this. Did you see what the Marlins tweeted?
Yeah, about the inside the park home run.
They deleted the tweet, but
yeah,
it was out there. So if you did not see this or over the weekend on Saturday when it happened, the Braves and the Marlins had a 3-game series They got the Braves 2 of 3, but Acuna tore his ACL in the 5-4 win on Saturday. The play, an inside the park home run by Jazz Chisholm. All right, so and now that somebody said Jeremy Pruitt, I'm going to start saying "ite" after everything that I say. So they tweet out, the Marlins do, the highlight of the inside the park home run without seeming, and I mean, I can't imagine this was intentional. This just seemed like something that was a bit of an oversight by a social media team. But they tweet out the highlight without noticing that Ronald Acuna Jr. is crumpled in a pile of himself after running into the outfield wall trying to make a play. They tweet it out and say, y'all want to see a home run? And then very quickly deleted what was a tasteless tweet, whether it was intentional or unintentional. It's a tough scene. You think they got fired, the social media person?
No, because I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it had a malintent behind it. It was just poor timing and a poor selection of words at the time.
Well, I saw noted homer of all things that he's a fan of, Will Bowling, tweet out about how about what a classless organization.
Yeah, I don't think the social media manager for the Marlins was like, oh, yeah, Acuna's hurt. Let's get him with this tweet. I think it was just a lack of not quite being aware of the surroundings there.
Let's twist the knife a little more.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the goal was.
Unbelievable. 615-737-1045. So wait, now we gave away tickets to hang out with us on Saturday. Who was caller number 5? Because listen, let me make this very clear. Actually, why don't we do this on the other side? Because I want to yell about something really quick, and we will get into more detail. We will talk also about some Titans players returning from injury. 3 announcements over the course of the last week that I think Titans fans are going to be excited about, but which has the greatest impact? Taylor Lewan, Caleb Farley, or Arthur Juan Brown? All 3 announced that they are back this weekend. Who has the greatest impact, the potential to have the greatest impact among those 3 Titans players? 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. I'm Buck Reising. This is 1045 The Zone.
Do you breathe Titans football? Yeah, so do we. Your home for Titans football and the flagship for Titans radio. 1045 The Zone.
I was like weirdly nervous. Is that dumb? Because I haven't talked in front of a microphone in a week. Now, I've obviously been talking, and there's nothing different about me. But I was a little insecure walking into the radio show today. I'm like, can I still do this for 3 hours? I was like that with Primetime last night. A to Z Sports Primetime, Sunday through Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, wherever it is that you follow A to Z Sports on social media. I was a little nervous to do the radio show today. I'm not going to lie to you.
I think that's in any line of work. It's hard to just dive back in head first, coming off of vacation and everything going seamlessly.
Yeah. I mean, so far it has not gone seamlessly.
Yeah, just creating excuses.
So far it has not been seamless. In fact, we started with Lucas basically reading you the rundown. Coming in unshaved, not having changed clothes from yesterday. Reeking of alcohol for our bosses who are listening to this.
No, for everybody, this is not true. It's not true. It's fiction.
Yeah.
Fake fiction.
Fake news. Yeah. And then now I'm fighting. I'm fighting against corporate America because we have rules that I'm not used to following, and it's not anybody's fault but my own. I could be more. What's the word? I could go along better, but that's just not my personality. Like, I want to do things the way that I want to do things and not be told, hey, caller number 5 is how you got to do giveaways. Now, this is not me lashing out at anybody that I work with or work for. This is just me not understanding how a corporate hierarchy works and being very frustrated because we've got fun stuff that we want to do with you guys, right? And it's going to be fun regardless. But I want to use it for content too. I want it to work for the radio show. And caller 5 in the history of sports radio is among the laziest things. I've already taken my my pound of flesh from lists in sports. Caller 5 is one of the worst things in the world. But it just so happens that if you're caller number 5 right now, we'll send you to see the Music City Grand Prix. 615-737-1045 is how you do that. Now, this is not the situation that I'm railing against. I'll tell you more about that in the noon hour. But as a part of 104.5 The Zone's Summer of Fun, we want to help you get your family out to fun attractions this summer. So if you are caller number 5, now for a chance to win a pair of single-day tickets to the inaugural Big Machine Music City Grand Prix that's happening August 6th through the 8th in downtown Nashville. 615-737-1045. Single-day tickets to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix are on sale now. To purchase, visit MusicCityGP.com. With a majority of the reserved grandstands sold out, a limited amount of single-day reserved grandstand and GA tickets will be available for each of the 3 days of the Urban Racing Festival featuring the NTT IndyCar Series. In addition, a general admission college ticket will also be offered all 3 days for any student possessing a valid college or university email address. More details available at MusicCityGP.com. So now that I've gotten off of the chest, or gotten that off of my chest, now that we're going to send somebody, I'll feel better because we're going to send somebody to a fun event. The Music City Grand Prix is going to be insane. And I myself am going to attend. Lucas is busy right now, but I'll ask him if he is also going to go. But I just hate the caller 5 thing, and I'll explain more to you about that gently, because I have great respect for all of my colleagues here at The Zone and at Cumulus Media, but I'm not used to the rules and the regiments. And that is something I'm going to yell about later on in the show. In the meantime, let's go to Tom in Birmingham, because we just got finished talking about the Marlins and the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. as well. Tom wants to weigh in on the Marlins tweet, the tastelessness of it, I assume. He's in Birmingham.
Yeah,
What's up, Tom?
Absolutely, I agree. I'm a lifelong Braves fan, man, and that was probably the low light of our season. Seeing Acuna, just you knew it was bad immediately, and I'm a fan of second chances, and that is poor taste on the social media person, especially considering that it's already been kind of a feud going on between Acuna and the pitchers,
right,
with them. If it were anyone else, it would have been a whole lot more forgivable, I feel like. But it just seems like, and I'm not saying he should be fired or she should be fired, but maybe some kind of action should be taken, in my opinion, definitely. It was tough to watch as a Braves fan, for sure, and that is tasteless. Agreed.
No question about it. Thank you for the call, Tom. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. I mean, it becomes an interesting conversation, right? Because this is a subject that is a particular sore spot for a lot of people, not just in the world of sports, but in society right now when you talk about canceling somebody, right? So whether the social media person for the Marlins had any idea that Ronald Acuna Jr. just went down in a pile of himself, tore his ACL, and was done for the season, whether they had any concept of that when they were tweeting out a home run highlight, an inside-the-park home run highlight, we don't know, right? We have no idea. And we have all, I think, or at least all of us who have been on social media in some form or fashion, we have probably done something that we regret very soon after we press send, right? The famous line, "Don't press send," from Herm Edwards, who himself sounds like he's in a little bit of a recruiting trouble out there at Arizona State. Maybe don't press send on an email or two, Herm. You never know. But social media, so it gets into this subject of canceling people. Should the Marlins social media person be fired? What action should be taken? Is it a suspension? Do you write them up? Like how are such things legislated in the world of sports? I kind of look at this the same way. As I do with what happened with Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor, for any of you who are NBA fans. And I know there's not a ton of NBA fans here in Nashville, Tennessee, but this was a story in the New York Times. So this is obviously something that gained a lot of traction. This was something that made it to the mainstream. The fact that ESPN is currently dealing with, a lot of unrest among their African-American employees because of what is believed to be a bad, and I don't know anything about the internal workings of ESPN. I have a lot of friends that work there. I don't get it. I don't ask them about their business like this because I know it can be sensitive subject matter, and people have been fired for less when you're communicating via text or email or whatever the case may be. But, should Rachel Nichols, there was a conversation last week about Rachel Nichols, and should she be taken off the NBA products that ESPN offers, whether it's the jump. She was removed from the sideline reporting during the finals. Lucas, did you see Jalen Rose's daughter tee off?
No.
On Rachel Nichols' head?
It was on like Twitter, right? Or
it was
on TikTok.
On TikTok.
Yeah, I did see that.
In fact, can you pull that up? Can you pull that up for me? Because I think there's no nuance in these conversations anymore. There's no, okay, we can have this conversation in parts. You can feel a certain way about what the Marlins did and also understand that people make mistakes in their professions, even if this one was a very, very, very public one. And the caller was right as to the bad blood, for lack of a better term, between the Braves and the Marlins, because you had Anthony Bender hit Ronald Acuna Jr. in the first game, in the 7th inning with a breaking ball, plunked him. Things started to get heated. They had to be separated. And so now you go into that game, Acuna tears his ACL, and it starts to snowball. Even if the two events, the tweet and Anthony Bender hitting Ronald Acuna with a pitch in the first game, those two things aren't connected, but they get lumped in with one another. I saw Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, on this Rachel Nichols thing, say basically nobody, and I'm paraphrasing here, nobody deserves to be canceled because of one I don't want to call it a minor error because it was a bad look for Rachel, where she's kind of, she's caught on camera and it's a bad situation because she's being filmed outside of her knowledge, which is because nobody cared about what happened to Rachel Nichols. They just cared about what was on the surface level. Oh, white reporter said something disparaging about a black reporter. It became that. It became the most basic of conversations rather than, oh, Rachel Nichols had her privacy violated in a way that is not being discussed. And on top of that, Maria Taylor, before this story gets published in the New York Times, because and how many people care about inside journalism? The New York Times story is coming. You know that story is going to hit if you're ESPN. ESPN got out in front of the the Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor story with a story of their own leaking in the New York Post about Maria Taylor wanting Stephen A. Smith money, which is despicable. Instead of doing damage control about an incident that you knew for a year was happening, you instead choose to leak details of a contract negotiation, fairly or unfairly, to further disparage the woman who has had no part in any of this. She's the victim in all of this because the conversation is being had about her, around her, and she smartly has chosen to stay silent other than to put her head down, do her job throughout the course of these NBA finals. Lonzo Wright says, TikTok, what is she, 10? I mean, listen, Lonzo, I'm on TikTok. I love TikTok. It's a great time. You'll lose 45 minutes of your day if you're not careful. But yeah, listen to Jalen Rose's daughter. Jalen Rose, who is a teammate of Rachel Nichols at ESPN. Listen to Jalen Rose's daughter tee off on Rachel Nichols on TikTok last week.
Now, because let's quickly talk about Miss Rachel Nichols. Maria Taylor knows what a generational talent she is in the broadcasting world, so I don't even got to go there and hype her up. Let's talk about the fact that she actually played basketball. And if you want to go there, let's go there. Let's talk about how you're related to Diane Sawyer, arguably the queen of ABC. Nah. You got your job as one of the faces of ESPN because you're so entertaining and talented and so good at it, right? You are a woman in the sports world, and you sat there and you laughed about the Me Too movement, about your fellow women complaining about being sexually assaulted at work. You think that's funny? What really got me is you're tired of the Black Lives Matter movement because you weren't tired about posting about it or making your stupid little storybook monologues about it. Maybe instead of crying and calling Maria a diversity token, you can direct that energy to the people who think there can only be one woman on that stage. And if we're being real, Rachel Nichols is a subpar reporter. Subpar. Boring. Not great. I'm sorry your white privilege didn't work this time. Maybe next time.
So that's Jalen Rose's daughter. Jalen Rose, who is on the NBA broadcasts, on many of the NBA broadcasts with Rachel Nichols, going just off the wall on Rachel Nichols' head, right? There are so many different things. Because, like, here, in all of this, Rachel Nichols had it in her contract that these jobs couldn't be taken from her. That I'm with. Now, what she said after the fact is what people are hovering on. But how people can have nuanced conversations, layers to this discussion, rather than jumping on somebody's neck or another person's. Just to say, you were right, I was wrong, let's fight about it on social media. That's the same kind of thing that this Marlins tweet, I think, is being lumped into, because there's so many different ways to tear apart something like this, and instead we're too busy tearing apart each other.
On that note, Will Bowling sent me this. @Jobs on Teamwork has posted an opening for social media assistant at the Miami Marlins.
Really? That's awful. Well, that really bothers me. You know what else bothers me? The fact that Tennessee dismissed a quarterback that's going to kill it at Liberty. We're going to talk about Caden Salter, where he's landed, and a former Vol is going to join us to talk about NIL, name, image, and likeness, coming up next. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm Buck Reising, and this is 104.5 The Zone.
You know what they do? They live Middle Tennessee sports. Blaine and Mickey. This afternoon, 1 to 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
have going on. Before we get into the Caden Salter conversation, you heard Lucas in his update tell you that not only is Hugh Freeze not going to coach Tennessee, not only is Caden Salter not going to play for Tennessee, they're going to go to Liberty. They're going to stay at Liberty together. And they're probably going to do stuff that is going to infuriate Vols fans at some point or another when things don't go to plan throughout the course of the 2021 season. We'll get to that momentarily. What I heard, though, before we came back was a promo. Lucas, I heard a promo that I recorded, but it didn't sound like me.
You were speaking very quickly.
What the hell was that? What?
Didn't know you had that gear.
Who did that to me? Who do I blame? Who do I yell at? I made a face like I smelled something bad. Now, again, I keep saying that I'm not going to disparage any of our friends and our colleagues who work around here. But what I heard sounded like I had just done a line of coke. Like I had just snorted a line of blow
and
off
taken
the
a hit of helium as well.
Not that I would know, but maybe the helium. I've dabbled in helium.
Everybody's done this.
Dabbled in helium in my day.
It's ruining lives.
It sounded like I straight up just, took my credit card out, chopped it up on the console, ripped one, and cranked out a promo about taking a bunch of soccer fans to hang out with us on Saturday. Who the hell did that to me?
You're hyped for this soccer thing.
I'm excited, but I'm not drugged. Good God. So to that end, we would like to take a handful of you guys to come hang out with us on Saturday. Wonderful promo, says Zach Bunch. That's what I'm saying. It's not a wonderful promo. It sounds like I'm tweaking. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. Because now we are going to do caller 5 against my better judgment because we have to. And because I am a good teammate, I'm going to play by the rules. But the 5th caller who wins these tickets to come, you'll win a pair of them. We'll be doing this all week long. If you are caller number 5, you are going to come to the Nashville SC match with Chicago Fire at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, this Saturday, July the 17th, with our show. We are going to get to take listeners to have a VIP event with us to Nissan Stadium, thanks to T-Mobile. T-Mobile, the largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G network. More than just wireless, T-Mobile. In terms of the event itself, Saturday, July 17th at Nissan Stadium. Kickoff is set for 7:30 p.m. Arrive early to tailgate with the supporters. If you would like to go yourself, if you are not able to join us with these free tickets that we are going to be giving away all week and on social media as well, by the way, go to NashvilleSC.com. So if we get a caller number 5, and the lines are loaded, so I'm thrilled that you guys want to go see a soccer match with us. I'm very excited. Lucas is going to be there. I'm going to be there. We may or may not have, more than likely, going to have special guests with us there as well, and we're going to enjoy a soccer match together. But here's what I'll say. Whomever is the 5th caller is going to have to come on air because, damn it, I'm going to get some content out of this if I have to drag it from somebody kicking and screaming. No pun intended, because we're going to a soccer match. But because we need to do it caller 5 in a way that drives me crazy, we are still going to find a way to get content out of this. Whether we get harassed by the lawyers or not, because apparently, I'm fighting an army of lawyers constantly. Lawyers who do good work, lawyers who are here to protect me, but they drive me crazy. Anyway, we're looking forward to the Nashville SC match over the weekend. Coming up next, okay, so Doug is our winner. Doug is the first winner. The first winner. Doug is officially on the air with us. Congratulations to you, Doug. Not that spending an afternoon with us or an evening with us is anything worthy of congratulations. But Doug, why should we? No, let me phrase this correctly, Lucas, because I almost phrased it the way that you did earlier. First, Doug, congratulations. We're excited to have you. You're the first winner. You get a pair of tickets to come hang out with us at a Nashville SC match. Why are you excited to attend the match, I guess is how I should start this.
Hey, thanks so much, man. I've been here since 71. I'm old school football. I've got a nephew who plays as a goalie on a soccer team, and I've never been to a match, although I lived in Wembley back in the day. But I'm pumped to be here, and thanks so much.
100%. Now, I'm going to have to ask you, Doug, because we can't. We are excited to have you. We're going to throw a party, and we hope that you're ready for that as well on Saturday. But I'm going to need to ask you, what's your favorite part of the show since you're going to be stuck with us at your first match?
Well, just listen to your voice. I'm I hang in there on the channel every day, and when I get a chance, I'm actually in the truck today, just going from place to place. So it's good to hear you guys, and thanks for just offering this. My nephew Kris is going to be excited beyond belief.
Well, we are excited for you. We're excited for Kris. We can't wait to hang out with you on Saturday. Hang with us on the line, Doug. Though Lucas is going to get some contact information from you, and we will do that. And that'll be great. Doug, our first one up. Now, when we come back, we are going to have a conversation. We've been talking a lot about name, image, and likeness over the last couple of weeks. But Thomas Edwards used to play for the Tennessee Vols. He is somebody who has been on the forefront of why this is an essential move to make. Former offensive lineman Thomas Edwards. We're going to talk about name, image, and likeness with Thomas coming up next, and also get into what I fear about the Caden Salter situation at Liberty for Vols fans. You're going to want to stick around. I'm Buck Reising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
When you need to know all the info faster, check out the Zone Daily Podcast with Will Bowling. Available on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the entire Zone Podcast Network.
Step up to the plate and get the best lines in baseball with William Hill Sportsbook. When you play with our money lines, you win more when you're right. So sign up today and start betting risk-free. Download the William Hill mobile app, and your first bet of up to $500 is risk-free using promo code RADIORF. New users only. Must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Paid and free bets. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. William Hill Sportsbook. Let's make it interesting.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who miss the fairway all day and still pull out the big stick, the type of guys who will always prefer to be behind the grill than in front of the camera, and the men who never let their friends forget about a high school nickname. This is the Lodge mentality. This
on a scale that matters, but to be able to utilize the university as brands, helping to keep some of these college athletes in college, I think this has the potential, and I guess I'd be curious about your perspective on this, for them to actually learn life skills that they otherwise would not have had or otherwise would have been deprived of as they head into their future, which is as an industry of one. You yourself are the business. You yourself are the commodity. You yourself are the marketing. But now they're going to have the ability and the advantage to be able to learn this on a college scale, and places like Tennessee having third-party outlets to be able to kind of guide them through this while they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's understanding what fair is, and what fair means. And, when this rolls out, people are going to be, it's going to create scenarios, especially right now. We've seen it in Fresno State. We've seen these people with pre-existing social media followings entering the college sports space. And then in prior life, they just had to park that one outside and then jump back in after they got out, just to be monetized on their social media followings. But, it's another thing too. Clicks are going to get you paid, not stats.
Yeah.
And stats are going to be a leading indicator to, some clicks themselves. If you're making catches in the end zone, going crazy, 10 touchdowns a game, whatever, that's an exaggeration, but that's also going to get you paid. But I mean, I think of one thing that really just rings out to me is the example for me when I was in school. I mean, probably the majority of you people listening don't know who I am because I had more shoulder surgeries than I did starts at Tennessee. So, I mean, I wasn't the kind of guy that you're going to see his name come across the screen most often, but I did for one time have an opportunity to go on a live interview on SportsCenter around a Twitter account that I created that generated a large chunk of media attention for a little time. And when I was at Tennessee, so you got two worlds: when I was there now, or when I was there then, and then if I was there now. This could have been an upswing that me as a college athlete who was not playing, not starting, not a name that people know. I mean, I was the roommate of Josh Dobbs. I was around him all the time. So honestly, I'd probably cut him a check too if I made money out of that myself, but that's two scenarios where, if that happened today, someone could capitalize on that upswing of attention and clicks and media attention and completely, take off and have their own, start a podcast or start just branch out forward from there, because they'll be able to get resources from that. For me, it buzzed out and died because it was just me posting pictures on Twitter or people that are on the O-line as well.
So you can keep track of all the things that Thomas Edwards is doing either on Twitter or on Twitch. Big TP Edwards is where you can throw him a follow. Make sure you do so to keep tabs of all of this stuff that he is, largely been ahead of the game on, because you understand the game, right? People don't, I think when you say clicks over stats, that surprises some people, but the way that social media has, one, not just changed the media landscape of what people like me do for a living, but how I mean, in the city of Nashville, half of our population, it seems, or at least half of the transplants that move into town, probably a greater percentage than half, move to town because they want to be social media influencers and because they think that they have the ability to monetize their name, image, and likeness and utilize their abilities to create traction on social media to provide a stable income for themselves. Now, how stable it actually is long term, many of them, I imagine, can't afford to pay their rent on a month-to-month basis. But this is kind of where things are trending generationally, that people like you, it feels like, understood before we actually got here, before the conversation became where we're having people call in saying, what happens if the running back gets a big endorsement deal and the offensive line who block for him aren't getting paid as much, so they don't want to work as hard for the running back in front of them because jealousy sets in, which is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how the internet can help those offensive linemen catapult themselves onto the same level, if not higher, than the running back.
That's exactly right. And I think that's what people, the first thing they do is the first thing they think that, July 1st hit, and then it was like an episode of Oprah and everybody had a set of keys underneath their seat and got a brand new car first thing. And that is not what happened. That is not anywhere close to what happened. And I think this is just the merging of an old school structure like the NCAA with common day business and common day social media interaction. And it disrupts a lot of things because as rigid as the NCAA is, and as those rules are strict and they have been for a while, when you introduce this completely lucrative business model where people are making so much money just posting pictures of what they're eating on a Tuesday, like that, it just brings something new to the table. I'm really excited to see how people capitalize on it and what kind of faces come to light that we wouldn't necessarily see just based on a stat line perspective.
Former Tennessee offensive lineman Thomas Edwards with us. Thomas, you mentioned you roomed with Josh Dobbs. I mean, you're on the same team as guys like Alvin Kamara, Derek Barnett on the defensive side, guys that would have made a killing, right, if this was in full effect. So what do you say to the notion that this type of thing will cause strife within locker rooms, and how much of a responsibility it is for the head coach to try and keep everything together when the left tackle or the center's not making a quarter of what the quarterback is that he's snapping to? Like, what comes to mind when you think of the notion that people are bringing up that it'll cause those issues?
That's a great question. And I think one thing it reverts back to is the success isn't just a random thing. I got the chance to play with two really, really special, really not just two, dozens of people that are really special athletes. I mean, I'll just focus on Dobbs and Alvin. I mean, Dobbs lived with all O linemen. He got that instruction from Peyton Manning, so the guy that's in the forefront of this media attention didn't just happen to fall into that. He's doing the things right along the way so me as an O lineman, if this was happening right now and Dobbs was able to capitalize on his name and image and getting the money from those 11 jersey sales, which you saw every single corner in Knoxville walking around, I wouldn't be jealous. You know what I'd be doing? I'd be, Charlie's 3 nights a week and Dobbs would be paying for it. I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, Alvin as well. Everyone that has played with Alvin, especially at the college level, knew that he was just head and shoulders. I like to use the word cooler than anyone else. I mean, he was wearing his friends' clothing lines. He wasn't, he was just himself. The dude was, there's not a single person that I played football with that would say it would be unfair if Alvin Kamara got paid.
Yeah.
The impact that he had on the game, the locker room, the leadership that he had, his work ethic. You guys, you can't see that. He looks like the guy likes to wear grills and be flashy on the game day. That's just the finished product. And, the work that goes into that is what the people that spend all that time and then would inherently get mad at something if somebody did get paid and they didn't. So I think that hard work and all that paints the picture for his team to say, okay, this dude has earned this money, and let's see how we can also rise that same level and do it for ourselves too. So, I mean, ultimately it gives them an example of someone that does it and does it correctly. I think the people on my team would have executed it so well.
Former Vols offensive lineman Thomas Edwards here with us on 104.5 The Zone. At Big TP Edwards is where you follow him on Twitter and on Twitch. So what do you fear, I guess, about this, Thomas? Because there's a lot of it seems to have been received with resounding praise almost universally, other than from like the old college football guard and old college basketball guard that just fears change in general. What do you fear, though, that could result from this that we may not, the general public may not necessarily foresee?
I think the biggest issue that's going to come out of this is lack of education and misunderstanding of how to handle money. And I think right now all these colleges across the country are scrambling to get the top financial advisors time to talk to their team and setting up some kind of system and structure to where these kids, because if you gave me $5,000 when I was going into college, man, I would have no idea what to do. Right. I would have no clue. No, not an idea. I didn't even know what a cab was when I got to UT. I'd never ridden in one, and I was sitting here paying $20 to go half of a mile, and that was like me getting introduced to capitalism. So, I mean, like, if now imagine you just throw $5,000 at me. No, I would make the wrong decision every day. So I think the scariest thing is universities not educating and getting up to speed with what the regulation and rules are in the NCAA. And if you don't educate and you have these players that are incredibly talented or not even talented, creating stream and creating media attention, that you're not educating them on how to handle that correctly. And it's a new facet of the game now, just like the NFL has it. So I think it's going to take a while to get that to where it's, I mean, not a while, we're pretty quick acting around, especially stuff that gets this much attention
and this much money.
It's going to be, Yeah, it's just going to take a minute to where we have established routines and rules, and the NCAA will probably alter and create new things that need to happen. So I think that the scariest thing, in summary, is you're giving a bunch of kids a lot of money potentially, but also at the same time, it's the 80-20. 80% of these people are going to get a local car dealership deal, or they go on the radio one time and they get $50.
Yeah.
They're not going to go drive a Tesla down 0 to 60 with Elon Musk. Like that's not what's happening. Like people are going to get some lunch money on the side for doing a radio interview. And the fact that we're all so quick to generalize and make sure like, oh, is this the right thing? Like, dude, they're just giving a dude $100 for telling him to come buy carpet at this store down the road. Like that's what's happening. And then the big ones you see, they're going to have the best support system behind them so they can make good decisions with their money.
Are you surprised by the backlash from those who do have that, whether it's hesitation, whether for whatever other reason they are against something like this? Are you surprised at the people who say that this is going to fundamentally alter college sports?
I mean, not surprised, man. Change is a scary thing for a lot of people. And if you change the way someone puts their shoes on in the morning, they'll probably freak out in an hour, So, I mean, it really is just a natural process when anything is changed. When rules are changed, there's always going to be that forefront of this is going to ruin college sports, the amateurship of college, that's still there. That's still there. That's still 90% of the team that doesn't get media attention, that doesn't, the locker room conversations, the time you spend in the locker room, the time that teams are built, that's what these old timers are putting their hats on. Like that stuff's still there too. But now we can live in both worlds. It's going to be rocky to figure that out and iron it out. But now, those are coming together. I think it's natural to think it's going to be disruptive to what the game is, but I don't think it's going to have that long of an impact.
I think a lot of people, and at least my initial thought was, well, no, the rich are just going to get richer on this. The SEC is going to substantially be head and shoulders ahead of everybody else on this. But then after really just educating myself more, I can't imagine that the SEC could get much better than they already are against a lot of these other conferences. In fact, I think that this may help level the playing field in a way that I didn't anticipate. Am I accurate in thinking that way after kind of reevaluating my position?
Yeah, I mean, I still think the scope and these big powerhouse programs are still going to get richer. I mean, that's just Indiana, for your example, like they're going to be able to snag some few recruits that they might not be able to gotten last year because they have the ability to connect storied tradition with dollars and then provide that together with something, and I'm not saying, but like, I'm not going to say that's going to happen immediately, but what happens is your boosters, they become, the checkbook, and those boosters are individual companies, like the Miami example of I'm going to botch this one. So forgive me if I mess something up on this one, but there's Miami Yacht Club guy saying to a recruit, he can use a yacht. Like, dude, if I was 16 years old and someone said I could do that, let's go. Packing a bag right now. Not forgetting sunscreen either, because I would get roasted in Miami. But like, that is the stuff that really, and if anything worries me, it just depends on how much the universities will say, this booster is independent from us. This is their company offering them this money. This is not them. And then at the same time, that booster is giving astronomical amounts of money to the university at the same time. So, I mean, I think that's a balancing act there to where you determine on, is this really an NIL situation for this athlete, or is this just kind of like getting somebody in the door too? So that comes into play too.
Former Vols offensive lineman Thomas Edwards has been our guest at Big TP. Edwards is where you follow him. He'll make you smarter about this name, image, and likeness stuff from somebody who's actually been through it. So this is probably somebody who you should be listening to, as opposed to vultures and talking heads like me who have not been through the experience of a college athlete and understand exactly how much of a difference this is going to make, and really what's not going to happen, because I think that's what's bothering people the most. Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Hey, and I'd love to come on any other time if you want me to talk about anything else. I can talk forever, I promise.
Oh, we'll harass you. Don't worry about it. At Big TP Edwards is where you can follow him on Twitter and on Twitch. All right. I haven't done polls in a while, Lucas. Let's do that when we come back. I'm Buck Reising. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Need a Titans fix? Bam! Just ask Alexa to play 104.5 The Zone, your home for Titans football, and the flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
Why do they call you 1 Hour Mick?
Because I show up on time and I do what I say I'll do.
A lot of
in this segment because this is Lucas Panzica's time to shine. It is time, my friend, for some poll questions.
Not now, Jenny. I'm on the radio. Buck Reising gave me a job. Said something about a poll update. Hope that wasn't at that club where you became a folk singer. Anyway, Buck Reising's producer and correspondent has the final poll update. I'm not a smart man, but I know who Lucas Panzica is.
I don't know why the Forrest Gump one gets me every time.
Folk singer. That's my favorite. NFL list season, the worst? 79% say yes, 21% say yes.
Yes, it is in fact the worst. I will hear no arguments to the contrary. Brent Doherty of 3HL has entered the studio. We were just complaining about the lists themselves and then immediately both acknowledged that we would both, in fact, be doing the lists after we had acknowledged how much we hate the lists.
You bag on the list, and then you do the list. I mean,
that's how this business works.
Yeah. Complain about things and then do the things.
Sports radio, powered by lists.
Complain about things and then do the things.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's the gig.
Spot on.
By the way, while I'm here, Lucas, publicly, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
What do you say, Forza? Is that it?
Forza Azzurri. Thank you.
Forza.
Brent was one of the many to text me yesterday, as was Buck. Appreciate both of you.
Well, no, Brent I feel bad for. 3HL I feel bad for because it's my understanding that he's been coming in here and like watching the games while you guys are on the air. And just screaming like an idiot.
He and Will Bowling sit like right on top of each other, literally watching these things. And I asked them, why do you sit so close to each other? And Lucas was sitting directly behind Will. It was really uncomfortable to sit next to those two. But Lucas said it's stadium seating, which made complete sense at that point.
That was we were watching Sweden-Ukraine, an electric game that finished with the last-second goal in extra time.
And for some reason, we were for Ukraine in this deal. I let Will and Lucas tell me who I'm for in these soccer matches.
Why are you two like this? I don't know. Put it on the poll. What else we got?
Why are at Will Bowling and Lucas Panzica like this?
I'd do it, but it would only give you two more clout.
Will they end up married?
It's
yes
inevitable
or no
at this point.
Like to one another or to other people?
No, to one another.
I would be happy to be happy to officiate the ceremony.
You're
I don't
like
know if
women.
I'm qualified or not. But.
You're on the same cycle. You're that close to each other.
Moving on. Which we'll
You're
cover.
welcome. I'll come in and hijack your show.
Brent Doherty, 3 to 6, 3HL, 104.5 The Zone.
We will cover this tomorrow. But which Titans player are you most excited to see return from injury? Taylor Lewan, A.J. Brown, or Caleb Farley? Well over 300 votes. Majority 38% are saying Farley, 33% Lewan, 29% A.J. Brown.
You know, that's interesting. And I thought it might go that way, honestly, just because people haven't seen Caleb Farley yet. Caleb Farley, they know what A.J. Brown is. Right. They know what Lewan is. But Caleb Farley is a bright, shiny new toy for them, and they don't know what he's capable of. They haven't seen him play football since 2019. So it's a lot of unknown about him, and just the idea that he is saying we have not gotten any official confirmation that Caleb Farley has been medically cleared for training camp.
Yeah.
That is important to say.
The unknown compounded by the fact that they need him to produce.
You know why? It's like the draft. People love hope. Give them hope. They don't care about anything else until they lose.
Is Conor McGregor washed, yes or no? 85% say yes.
1-3 in the last 5 years. I don't get why people like Conor McGregor. I don't care why people care about Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is a bit of a has-been, it would seem. He hasn't beat anybody at the top of his weight class since 2016. I was out of college, but still.
He was cashing checks. He's just cashing checks at this point.
Yeah, but so are people just dumb enough that they're going to continue to let him rob them blind with stupid things like Logan Paul and all these other sideshow atrocities?
The answer is yes.
Polluting sports?
The answer is overwhelmingly yes.
I hate it here. I hate it here.
What excites you more, home run derby or the All-Star game? 87% say the home run derby.
Yeah, it's the home run derby, and it's really not even the home run derby. It's Shohei Ohtani. I mean, that's all I want to see. That's all I think the majority of the fringe sports fans want to see. I'm certain it's all that baseball fans want to see because he's a bit of a unicorn. We haven't had somebody like this in the majors ever, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, at least as far as, my limited baseball knowledge goes back.
Yeah, if I do watch, he will be the reason I watch.
Yeah.
Keith Coley says, I'd rather watch paint dry. Honestly, are people really excited about any sports all-star game?
Well, you pick the one person who's going to complain about this. I can't help that one person. Like, I got nothing for that one person. other than to shut up and watch the baseball like the rest of them.
Do you think that one guy exists out there that just loves All-Star games? That's just like the NBA All-Star game, the Pro Bowl, and the MLB All-Star game are like his Super Bowl?
Yes, because of autograph collectors. Because those people have the vultures. They have the ability to go out there and get all of the famous athletes at one fell swoop and, send their children or children that they've borrowed to go up and get the autographs so they themselves, grown men, don't go up and have to ask for the autographs. This is the Super Bowl for them, the All-Star games.
Penalty kicks, fair or foul? 66% say fair.
The entire internet was bitching about the penalty kicks, and I loved them. I thought even if there wasn't a goal made to end the game, even if it ended on a save, I guess, is that what they call them in soccer? Is it saves?
Yes.
Okay. Even if it ended on a save, don't laugh at me, Brent. Just get
Even
out of here.
Even I know that one.
I mean, I don't know.
Me and you need to do the soccer podcast one day.
No, we would last all of 5
would have
minutes,
a lot
and then
of
it
fun.
would turn into Brent trying to say Forza Italia.
Yes.
Poorly.
But I do push back against the notion that a penalty shootout is just like a crapshoot and a coin flip. Like, there's so much that goes into it. You have to put it on frame. It's a psychological battle.
Well, yeah, and then when somebody like, who's my guy that choked? Hit the post. Hit the post on the penalty kick.
For England? Rashford?
Yeah, for England.
It doesn't matter who he is. It doesn't matter what his name is.
Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
No, it does matter because we need to publicly shame him today.
Well, that's
Lucas, how do you take the ball outside the net? I mean, why in the world would you do that ever?
What do you
in a
mean?
penalty kick situation. You've got to at least give yourself a chance, right?
Right.
It's a pretty damn big net.
You got to put it on.
Me.
The psychology, like that 50-yard walk from midfield to the penalty spot with 60-something thousand people around you and millions of people watching, I can't even fathom what that's like.
No, he psyched himself out is what he did. He took too many steps. The goaltender for Italy smartly faked him out. Him out on his own fake out.
You have to have a very certain type of conviction to start your run-up not knowing where you're going to go because you're going to react to wherever the goalie goes. It takes a certain type of player. And Rashford was subbed in for the shootout, was subbed in cold with no flow of the game. Just go in there at the biggest moment of his career, say, go on. But the biggest thing with that was the third guy who missed for England, Bukayo Saka, a 19-year-old who had never taken a penalty kick in his life, in his competitive senior soccer career, asked to kick in that moment, and it was saved by Donnarumma.
Choke.
No doubt. I mean, it's a big net. I mean, how many, I could lay down how many times from goalpost to goalpost?
Probably, 3 or 4?
Yeah 3 or 4.
I would say.
4.
Yeah. So, you get your own head, you blow it. That's what happened yesterday for England and for the victory for the entirety of the United States. Because
it's
we
like
do not celebrate the colonizers.
all-pro wide receiver dropping a ball in the end zone or something. I mean, it happens.
Same thing. Are those the polls?
Can you wear the same shirt in back-to-back days? 56% say yes.
What led to that?
Wait, look, he's wearing the same shirt from yesterday.
Well, of course. I mean, they want.
With a bar yesterday in this shirt, he comes into work like this, reeking of booze, doing his job poorly.
I didn't stumble into the station with no sleep and my hair messed up, hungover.
You could have fooled me because all you did for the first segment that was your idea was read me the rundown that I made about all the things I missed in sports
I
this
was
week.
very alert. I had a very relaxed night with some wine, some cooking, some music. I basked in the glory of that victory yesterday, and I changed out of this shirt and then changed back into it today because it's a special occasion.
I'm going to pay the $1 fine to Home Street Home for blaming people for things that are actually my fault because I trusted you in that moment to do the right thing, and instead all you did was read to me. You came prepared with 5 words and no context of a week of sports that I missed.
Not much happened.
I love that about you, that you're helping Home Street Home. What a phenomenal organization. People need to look them up and help.
100%. You can do so at 1045thezone.com, the Buck Reising Show page. There's a link for you guys to donate to Home Street Home. It's an incredible organization run by Brent and my friend Stephen Young. He does such great work, and he and the people that work with him and work for him are changing lives of the homeless here in Middle Tennessee. So if you can shine a little light on somebody today, do it with Home Street Home. They're well worth your investment, I would say. All right. I don't think we suck today. We'll try it again tomorrow. Blaine and Mickey aren't going to suck. They're up next.
From the the field to the locker room. With 11 years of NFL experience, Ramon Foster delivers a unique perspective every weekday morning. J. Mart and Ramon, tomorrow morning starting at